better than expected, huh? Yeah, this is only because this piece right here, I started way before I did the Normani piece, and decided to do the Normani piece out of frustration from doing this piece. I spent way too much time on this piece that I needed to, honestly. Well, I tend to do it with a lot of my pieces anyway. It's mainly because of just me being busy or just losing interest, or I have a really bad like thing which is getting distracted really easy. And also, like I said in the last video, with the technical difficulties didn't really help my focus levels, because I was just waiting on something to go wrong, and so I couldn't really necessarily immerse myself into the picture itself. So yeah, but for the most part I love this picture, but the piece did give me a problem towards the end with the hair. That was the main reason that drove me to like, okay, I need to draw something else. I need to work on something else, because me getting stuck on this is slowing down the process and just stifling my productivity levels, I felt like, anyway. But this piece did turn into something that I was not intentionally trying to get to, but I'm not mad that it got to that point. Also, I was kind of more so experimenting with a slightly different style, as you can probably tell. Well, it's still in kind of like the beginning stages, but mid stages, so you can kind of see like where I'm going with it. I showed this to my best friend, and she kind of picked up on the different kind of styles I usually do. I usually do more realism, and not saying that this isn't realism, but it's more so, it's like a mixture. Towards the end it kind of gave like realism slash like cartoony animation kind of style. It's only because of the graphic lines that I picked towards the end. Just something that I was experimenting with. It's not something that I'm gonna stick with. I just wanted to see like, how would it look if I like put some harsh lines around her, see if it would make her pop or whatever. So as you can see right here, I'm like playing around with the hair, seeing how it's gonna lay, and seeing like what I was thinking about doing. That was just a prototype. It was just something that I placed down so I can get like the full picture, because sometimes I can get a little lost in the process because I get stuck on a certain detail, and then after a while I just lose the plot. As they would say nowadays, I would lose the plot. So to like get me back into the what I was intending on doing and focusing on the piece at hand, I would have to throw myself into a different part of the picture in order to like get the full thing. But yeah, so I would say this is not necessarily a person that like is like a real person. It's more so just someone I kind of like started drawing, and of course I used some references, but the references I used should look nothing like. So I kind of just went with it. Really, it's just only the pose that I kind of used for the reference. Everything else, like the skin tone, the proportions, and all this stuff, were kind of like different, and I just kind of made it my own in certain areas, and I just kind of went with it. I really didn't, the beginning I really didn't think too hard on it. The only part of this piece that really just kicked my butt was the hair. The hair, you see, the most part I was kind of focusing on at this point, and I was just trying everything in order to like really get me to like let these braids pop out as braids, because as you can see, they're flat. You can't tell that she has braids. Well, I don't think I even used the brush at that point. This is when I used the brush, started using the brush to see, okay, because the shapes, the lines were just, like I said, placeholders for how the braids were gonna lay. But even when I started doing the braids, it just was not working. Oh, also this piece, most of this piece was done in Photoshop. Like pretty much 95% of this piece was done in Photoshop, and the last 5% was finished in Procreate, and that was the hair part pretty much. I added some like shadows and stuff and highlights in Procreate towards the end, but for the most part, most of this piece was done in Photoshop. But yeah, it's kind of coming towards the end. This is when I was still playing around with it, and then I just popped into Procreate, as in right here. And then that's when I was like, you know what, I'm just play with Procreate brushes and see what I can get. And honestly, I still wasn't in love with it, but I'm satisfied with it, and I just had to let this piece go, because if I wasn't, it wouldn't go see a light of day.